If you liked the video, feel free to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. This video is going over a list I have been thinking about trying out for a fun, interesting list while we wait for the Grey Knights Codex. The idea for this list is mortal wounds output. How much mortal wounds potential can we cram in a list, while making the list still capable of winning a game of 40k? Once the Codex comes out, we will start covering it on the channel. For now, have some fun building lists, make your own theme list. Let's take a look at my Mortal Wounds Grey Knights list. I'm using the Warpbane Task Force Detachment. I've named the list Maximum Mortals, and it comes to 2,000 points. My Warlord is Brother Captain Stern. For my other characters, I do have 3 Brotherhood Librarians. One of them has the Radiant Champion enhancement, while the other has the Vial of the Abyss. All 3 Librarians are equipped with the combi weapon. For my battle line, I do have 4 units of 5 Terminators. All of these units have a side cannon, Agent's Banner, and a Nartheseum. 2 units of 5 strike squads. Each 5-man unit has 1 side cannon with 1 close combat weapon. For my other datasheets, I do have 3 units of 5 Purifiers, 2 Incinerators, and 2 close combat weapons in each one of those 5-man units. Finally, for my allied unit, I do have Inquisitor Draxus to join up with one of those strike squads. First, let's quickly take a look at the Warpbane Task Force Detachment rule, then we'll take a look at some of the stratagems that do focus on mortal wounds in this detachment. The detachment rule is hallowed ground, where certain parts of the battlefield will become the hallowed ground. Our deployment zone is always going to be the hallowed ground. If we control at least half of the objectives in no man's land will also be our hallowed ground. If we control at least half the objective markers in the opponent's deployment zone, the opponent's deployment zone will also be in the hallowed ground. What happens when you have the hallowed ground? Each time a model in the Grey Knights unit from your army makes an attack, you can re-roll the hit roll of 1. If that unit is a Purifier Squad or wholly within your army's hallowed ground, you can re-roll the hit roll. And the Purifier Squads also have a 6-inch bubble of the hallowed ground. If you can stand within 6 inches of these Purifiers, you can also get the hallowed ground that way. The unit does have to be wholly within that 6-inch bubble though. You can't be within, because that detachment rule does say you have to be wholly within your army's hallowed ground to get that re-roll hit roll. There are some other helpful stratagems in this detachment as well. Aegis Eternal to give your Grey Knights infantry a 4+ invulnerable. One of the better ones is Sanctified Kill Zone, where if you are within the hallowed ground, your unit can re-roll a wound of 1, or if the unit is a Purifier Squad, it can re-roll the wound roll. Those are some of the other stronger stratagems, but we're here for our Mortal Wounds rules. So let's look at the first one. Our first stratagem is Fires of Covenant. At the start of your opponent's movement phase, 1 Grey Knights infantry unit from your army. Until the end of the phase, each time an enemy unit is set up or ends a normal advance or fallback move of 6 inches of your unit, roll 1d6, adding 2 to the result if your unit is wholly within your army's hallowed ground. On a 4+, that enemy unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. We also have Flames of Sanctity for 1 CP at the end of the fight phase. 1 Purifier Squad unit from your army that was eligible to fight this phase. This is why I have the 3 units of 5 Purifiers. Roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within 6 inches of your unit, adding 1 to the result if your unit includes Castellan Crow. On a 4+, that enemy unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. Finally, we have the enhancement Radiant Champion that is on one of our Librarians. Grey Knights infantry model only. The bearer's melee weapon has the precision ability, and while the bearer is wholly within your army's hallowed ground, each time a melee attack by the bearer scores a wound, the target of that attack suffers 1 mortal wound in addition to any normal damage. I know the Teleport Strike Force Detachment does have a stratagem to give your units devastating wounds in the fight phase. I think overall, Warpbane Task Force has the potential for more mortal wounds output. Let's move on to the unit breakdown and look how we can use these rules to buff up the mortal wounds output of this list. We will start the unit breakdown with Brother Captain Stern and his Terminators. The Brotherhood Terminators do have their Hammer Hand ability that gives the unit the lethal hits ability on their melee weapons when they have charged that turn. The 4 Terminator units in the list will be used to hold objectives when needed. They can use the Fires of the Covenant stratagem to deal some mortal wounds to enemy units who do get within 6 inches of this unit. Stern has his own way to add some mortal wounds potential to his attached Terminator unit. Let's take a look at Brother Captain Stern's abilities. Brother Captain Stern has Deep Strike, Teleport Assault, Exemplar of the Silvered Host. While this model is leading a unit, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack on a critical wound, that target suffers 1 mortal wound in addition to any normal damage. Then we have Strands of Fate. The first time this model is destroyed, roll 1d6 at the end of the phase on a 2+, set this model back up on the battlefield as close as possible to where it was destroyed and not within engagement range of any enemy units with its full wounds remaining. Strands of Fate is a nice bonus ability to help him being sniped out from his Terminator unit. It also makes him a decent solo character for the Grey Knights. For our list though, he is being attached to the Terminators to give them a chance to do some mortal wounds from the Exemplar of the Silvered Host ability. Stern's unit, we want to have the Hallowed Ground buff to reroll hits. We can also use Sanctified Kill Zone for 1 CP to reroll wounds of 1. We want as many chances as possible to roll those critical wounds. The 4 Terminator units cannot use Hallowed Beacon for a 6-inch deep strike charge. We can use them to hold objectives in the midboard to have the Hallowed Ground in no man's land. We can then use Hallowed Beacon on the Purifiers or Strike Squads, the Purifiers being a good choice as we want to make them into little mortal wound bombs to send into our enemy lines. Against factions with a lot of 1 wound per model units, this list will be scary. Sisters or Eldar come to mind. Then we have the 3 Librarian and Terminator units. The Brotherhood Terminators do not have any way themselves to deal mortal wounds. We can use Fire of the Covenant to deal some mortal wounds if enemies do get close. The Librarians themselves can output some good to great mortal wounds. They have that Vortex of Doom ability. In your shooting phase, you can select 1 enemy unit within 18 inches invisible to this Psyker. If you do, roll 1d6. On a 1, this Psyker's unit suffers d6 mortal wounds. On a 2 to a 5, that enemy unit suffers 2d3 mortal wounds. On a 6, that enemy unit suffers the big 2d6 mortal wounds. When you get that big 6, try not to roll Snake Eyes because I've done that and it feels terrible. Our first enhancement, Radiant Champion. I would rather this enhancement on a Grandmaster or a Brotherhood Captain. I also wanted 3 Librarians in the list. With Radiant Champion, now I have 1 Librarian who can deal mortal wounds in the shooting or the fight phase as not a bad thing. Vial of the Abyss is simple but useful. -1 to the hit roll of incoming range attacks to the bearer's unit can be quite useful into those shooting heavy lists. Next up, we have Inquisitor Draxus with the Strike Squad and just the Strike Squad by itself. Draxus with a Strike Squad is actually a potent combination. I want the 2 Strike Squads in my list for their Sticky Objectives ability. Unlike the Custodies where the Custodian Guard actually buff Draxus, it is the Warpbane Task Force rules along with the Grey Knights Army rule that buff Draxus in this list. It also really powers up her damage potential. She has a damage to devastating wounds range weapon. Having some of these rerolls really helps her out in this list. First, let's take a look at the buffs we can get on her unit, then we will take a look at Draxus herself. These rules have to be used on a Grey Knights unit, not the actual model. This is important since Draxus joined to a Strike Squad is still a Grey Knights unit. That means her unit can use the army rule to teleport around the board. The Warpbane Task Force Detachment rule also works on Grey Knights units. Draxus will get access to reroll hits of 1 or reroll the hit roll if in our Hallowed Ground. It is an infantry unit. We could use Fires of Covenant to deal some extra mortal wounds to any enemy unit who moves within 6 inches of Draxus. Sanctified Kill Zone to reroll wounds of 1. We do need to be in the Hallowed Ground to use it though. The unit will be able to reroll the hit roll too if we're in the Hallowed Ground. Let's take a look at Inquisitor Draxus herself. Movement 6, 3 toughness with a 3-up save and a 5-up invulnerable, 4 wounds, 6 leadership and an OC of 1. The range weapons are what we're looking at here. Dirge Singer, 18-inch range, 4 attacks, hitting on a 3+, strength 4, AP 0, damage 2 with anti-infantry 4 and devastating wounds with the assault ability as well. Next up is a Psychic Tempest, which is a psychic attack, so she can use both of these in the shooting phase. 18-inch range, 6 attacks, hitting on a 3-up, strength 6, AP 0, damage 2 with sustain hits 2. For the melee weapon is a Power Fist, 3 attacks, hitting on a 3+, strength 6, AP 2, damage 2. She also has the ability Psychic Veil. In your command phase, you roll a d6. On a 1, you suffer d3 mortal wounds. On a 2+, Draxus and the Custodian Guard unit she's attached to will have an 18-inch lone op. It is her Dursinger, that anti-infantry foreweapon, that deals most of this unit's mortal wounds. The psychic attack can do some good damage too. Reroll hits and reroll wounds of 1 can make her much more reliable in the shooting phase. Throw the strike squad shooting in there too. We have some good anti-infantry killing in this list. These rules can be used in the fight phase too if need be. I would rather stay back and shoot things to death with this unit though. The last unit in this breakdown is our 3 Purifier Squads. The theme of this list is maximum mortal damage. This is the reason I decided not to take Castellan Crow. It keeps these 3 Purifier units at 125 points each as of July 2025. They do give the other units within 6 inches of them the Hallowed Ground Detachment rule. We do not want to get these Purifiers killed for nothing. They are the way we can dish out even more mortal wounds from this list though. There are 2 stratagems we can use on the Purifiers to make them mortal wound bombs. Flames of Sanctity. This stratagem is why I have the 3x5. I want to get these close to multiple units, playing aggressive in the first few turns to catch as many units as possible with my 6-inch mortal wounds bubble. Crow does make it more reliable, but he turns the unit into a unit I do not want to risk losing early. This way we can throw one of these Purifier units into the enemy army without as much points lost. Next is Fires of Covenant. In the following opponent's turn, we can use this stratagem to hopefully cause even more mortal wounds. Depending on how many enemy units were around, this combo can start to pile on the damage, especially when done multiple turns in a game. Each turn, I would like to take one of these Purifiers, charge it into the enemy lines, get those reroll hits from the Hallowed Ground, do as much damage as I can, and then pop these 2 stratagems to do as much mortal wounds damage as I can as well. That's the unit breakdown. I didn't go too in depth with the rest of the stratagems. The focus on this video was just trying to find ways we can deal mortal wounds with the units in this list. Let's finish the video with some final thoughts. This was another fun, casual channel list. The Grey Knights Codex is coming soon. We will shift our focus to new Grey Knights info as soon as it becomes available. For now, this was a list I have been wanting to do for my own curiosity. What are the ways you like to deal mortal wounds as the Grey Knights? If you like this kind of video, throw it down in the comments. I know it isn't the most competitive list, but it should be a fun, interesting list. Subscribe for weekly battle reports, list videos, and other Warhammer 40K content. Channel members gain early access to videos and an invite to the channel Discord. Like always, thanks for watching, thanks for stopping by.